things. I think I'm going to go over NBC and ABC and CBS, all the alphabets.
Hallie, the Houthis have been a powerful force inside Yemen for years, but it was only after Israel's
Okay, Richard, hang on, Richard. You're not loud enough. There we go.
Of Gaza against Hamas that they really emerged on the world stage when they began to blockade the Red Sea. The Houthis say they are blockading the Red Sea in retaliation for Israel's blockade of Gaza.
This is 3 hours ago.
Well armed and undeterred by American and international threats, Yemeni militants known as the Houthis have disrupted traffic in the Red Sea, sent cargo prices skyrocketing, and could trigger a regional war.
So there's several groups involved in what's going on right now. One of them is the Houthi, which are in Yemen, which are on the south side of the peninsula. There's also been a response already by, I think it's the Islamic State of, no, not the Islamic State. There's like a group in Iraq that is backed by Iran that has already done some business over here, which I had to search for.
This week,
yeah,
the militants launched their
right
biggest attack yet, firing more than 20 drones and missiles at commercial ships in the southern Red Sea, all shot down by U.S. and British warships deployed to protect the vital shipping lane. Secretary of State Antony Blinken warning the Houthis' actions would not be tolerated.
All I can tell you is that, as we make clear, and many other countries make clear, there'll be consequences for the Houthis' actions.
But who are the Houthis? They call themselves Ansar Allah, Arabic for followers of God. A rebel group backed by Iran, the militants took over northern Yemen in early 2015, including the capital Sana'a. Long at war with Saudi Arabia, which supports the old Yemeni government the militants overthrew, the Houthis burst onto the international stage after Hamas's October 7th attacks in Israel and Israel's devastating war of reprisal in Gaza. The once little-known militant group.
So, yeah, they started on October 7th. So October 7th happened, and then Israel's response was to bomb the ever-living shit out of the entire Gaza Strip, which is 2 million people, within about the size of a rectangle strip of a major city. So 2 million people is a lot of targets. Obviously, they've killed. Biden sucks. Yes, Biden sucks. Bad Pookie. Here, I can move your there you go. Now you're on screen. So you can see your chats on screen right there. But yeah, so this story, and I'm pretty sure every story that I'm going to look at right now is going to be presented as oh, the Houthi are doing bad stuff because they're bad guys. Their whole point is, hey, they've said that, hey, we'll stop once Israel stops bombing Gaza, right? That is it. That is it. And rather than stopping or having the U.S. negotiate for that to end, the U.S. has now started bombing the Houthi. I guess Biden really wants to get reelected.
He began launching missiles and drones at Israel in solidarity with Hamas and the Palestinians in Gaza. They released highly produced videos of their raids on commercial ships.
It's a GoPro, bro.
While other Arab states have condemned Israel but not acted, the Houthis have seen their popularity soar in the Middle East. The group even opened one ship it captured to the public as a kind of museum.
They had a wedding on it.
Companies including Maersk have already diverted all marine traffic from the Red Sea. The Houthis say they will stop their attacks as soon as Israel ends its war in Gaza.
There you go.
But has the group overplayed its hand? We spoke with Mohammed al-Buhaithi, one of the top Houthi leaders, by video link from the Yemeni capital Sana'a.
Do you really want a war with the United States and other countries right now?
لا نريد أي حرب مع أي طرف ونحن نريد السلام ولكن السلام العادل وليس السلام الذي تريده أمريكا لأن أمريكا تريد فرض هيمنتها على المنطقة ليس فقط على فلسطين.
Do you coordinate with Hamas, Hezbollah, Iraqi groups, other, let's call them groups that are supported by Iran?
بالتأكيد هناك تنسيق بين دول محور المقاومة، وهذا التنسيق هو في الموجهات العامة وليس في كل التفاصيل. وبالنسبة لنا في اليمن نحن بيننا تنسيق وبين المقاومة الفلسطينية، ولكن في النهاية قرار كل دولة من دول محور المقاومة هو قرار مستقل.
By taking on the United States, do you think maybe you've taken on more than you can chew? A fight that is too big for your capacity?
نعم، عندما نقوم بالحسبة المادية.
Brother, these people have survived a genocide themselves.
فهذا صحيح، وإنما نتحرك بقوة الله سبحانه وتعالى، ولذلك نحن سنتحرك من أجل نجدة إخواننا في فلسطين مهما كلفنا ذلك من تضحية.
Pressure is mounting on the United States to take military action against the Houthis. But that comes with the risk of further expanding war in the Middle East during one of the region's most volatile times in years.
The United States has built a coalition against the Houthis in Yemen, and the Pentagon, according to numerous U.S. officials, is considering military action. Hallie?
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about...
Yeah, smooth moves so far. So that coalition that they were talking about was what, like a few ships and like a handful of sailors. So it really isn't much until today, when the U.S. and the U.K. decided to go through and launch from the Gulf and start doing their bombing campaign that they're currently doing. I don't know if they're doing it live, but I could probably look that up. So next, this is probably...
Reports surfaced early Thursday of the Greek-owned oil tanker St. Nicholas being boarded by armed individuals in military attire near...
That is really loud. I am sorry.
Iran. This vessel, carrying Iraqi oil through the Gulf of Oman, unexpectedly veered towards the Iranian coast following the incident. The St. Nicholas has a turbulent history under its previous name, Suez Rajan. Last year, while operating as the Suez Rajan, it was at the center of tensions between the U.S. and Iran when the U.S. military intercepted a shipment of 1 million barrels of Iranian oil aboard.
What do you mean intercepted?
Seized cargo languished off the Texas coast for nearly 2 months as companies, especially those with Persian Gulf exposure...
Iranian oil is stuck off coast of Texas, but U.S. firms won't touch it. So the Suez Rajan is what this ship was previously. So this was earlier today, or I want to say, like, to say earlier today is probably like yesterday on the other side of the planet. So this ship was basically recaptured by Iran. And then I don't know if the exact sequence of events, but I would say the ship was recaptured and then they went ahead and started doing the bombing on Yemen. So if this doesn't sound like a war, like what does, man?
Feared potential retaliation from Iran over involvement in eventually offloading the oil. Iran's reputation for retribution necessitated exceptional measures.
So we took the oil from the ship and then basically gave them the ship back, but they recaptured it, is what happened today. To
anonymize any corporate...
a cargo of Iranian crude was seized. Crude oil was seized.
...role. Now, with the St. Nicholas veering towards Iran once again, it appears to be a continuation of this maritime saga. Although Iranian officials have not explicitly confirmed their involvement, the circumstantial evidence, including the ship's course change, strongly suggests Iranian military maneuvers. This latest incident fits into a larger pattern of Iran's assertive maritime tactics in the region.
I mean, sure.
We have some significant breaking news just into us as we have learned.
So this is U.S.-UK from NBC News. U.S.-UK launched strikes against targets in Yemen.
Now that the U.S. and British military have launched strikes against targets in Yemen. areas of Yemen controlled by the Houthis. This is according to 2 U.S. officials. This, of course, comes in the wake of those Houthi rebel strikes on ships in the Red Sea, those strikes on commercial ships that we've been talking about now for weeks. It is, of course, the potential for a big escalation of the growing conflict in the Middle East. We've got team coverage tonight. I want to start with Gabe Gutierrez, who is live for us at the White House. Gabe, what do we know and where does this go?
Oh, well, hi there, Hallie. As you mentioned, 2 sources confirmed to us that the U.S. and British forces have started strikes against Houthi targets inside Yemen. Now, this is an escalation, Hallie. The U.S. had been trying to prevent or had retaliatory strikes against Houthi forces before, but these are the first land-based retaliatory strikes that the U.S.
So they're flying over Sana'a. As to where they're flying from, they said it was the Gulf, so I assume it's somewhere over here. I'd have to. Hopefully, somebody has a map of where ships are.
U.S. Has undergone. Now, they targeted multiple locations inside Yemen with fighter jets and Tomahawks fired from Navy ships. Now, Hallie, this comes after the White House has repeatedly warned the Houthis over the last several weeks to essentially knock it off. Now, none of these warnings had apparently worked.
You boys knock it off now.
The Iranian Navy seized an oil tanker off the coast of Oman, raising the stakes here. Of course, the Houthis being backed by Iran, according to the National Security Council here. And the U.S. had been considering targeting these land-based positions for some time now. The U.S. and the U.K. had already responded by shooting down missiles and drones fired by the Houthis. The U.S. Navy recently sank Houthi boats that had fired on commercial ships. Now, today, Secretary of State Blinken was in Cairo. And he said, I don't think the conflict is escalating, but there are danger points, according to the Secretary of State. But again, the breaking news there, Hallie, that 2 U.S. officials confirmed to NBC News that the U.S. and British military have launched strikes against the Houthi militant group inside Yemen for the first time.
And just like anything else,
Raf Sanchez, I want to go to you now, live for us in Israel, in Tel Aviv. Right, and Raf, we have talked now for weeks about the potential for a broader regional escalation, particularly after these attacks by Houthis in the Red Sea. We know there have been more than 24 on commercial ships, commercial tankers. This has been an issue.
And you notice how, like, none of this that they're saying that the Houthi have been doing has been specifically directed at the United States. They've really just been bombing, like, I would say kind of like whoever, whenever. It's been, I'm sure there's more rhyme than, there's more reason to it than anything else. I don't know what analogy I was trying to make there. But there's been a lot of reason for their actions. And it's mostly because they want to go after ships that are trying to do business with Israel. So, again,
issue that the U.S. and allies around the world have been trying to get a handle on.
Maybe he'll mention it.
This has been an issue for 2 months, Hallie, and the Houthis, week after week, attack after attack, have been defying the U.S., defying America's allies, and continuing these strikes on commercial ships heading through the Red Sea, through that narrow strait called the Bab el-Mandeb. Around 20% of global trade disrupted by these Houthi attacks, according to the U.S. government. You have ships, rather than going through the Red Sea, through the Suez Canal, and into the Mediterranean, are now taking this very long route around the southern coast of Africa. The Houthi attacks have been driving up the cost of shipping, costs which have been passed on to consumers all over the world. And it has become a situation that has become untenable from the perspective of the White.
Did he say the cost of shipping, which has been passed on to consumers of all? They lightly mentioned that in the news in the U.S. From what I've seen, I watch the news very often, unfortunately, but I haven't really seen anybody freak out yet. At least like gas prices and all that stuff haven't gone up. We're only a week into the year. This has been going
from the
on
perspective
for like
of the
2
British
months.
government. You've heard Secretary Blinken, as he's been here in the region over the last week, saying again and again, there will be consequences if these Houthi attacks continue. And
But that's the thing is like I don't think this is going to stop. It's not as easy as just a carpet
have
bomb
continued.
once.
Just yesterday, according to the U.S. and British militaries, the Houthis launching their largest, most complex attack yet. 18 drones, 3 missiles fired at ships in the Red Sea, despite those warnings from the U.S., from the U.K. These strikes have been very highly telegraphed, Hallie. The Houthis have known they were coming. They have put out warnings of their own, saying that they will respond to any American attacks, and they have options in terms of targets. Commercial ships in the Red Sea, American bases in the region, but also Saudi Arabia, oil facilities there, which they've targeted many, many times in the past. So we're seeing these American and British strikes coming now. The question...
And those bases that he's talking about have been under attack the entire time as well. So not only since October 7th have the Houthi been bombing and shooting at ships, but also you have the other guys, going in. I would say it's like Hezbollah and really just like factions that are in Syria and Iraq.
Thanks for watching. Stay updated about breaking news and top stories on the NBC News app or follow us on social media.
Get out of here, molester. All right. Oh my God, he's
strikes against Iranian-backed rebels in Yemen. 2 U.S. officials confirming those strikes on Houthi targets. The militia group is responsible for more than 24 attacks on shipping vessels in the Red Sea. Could this signal an expanding conflict in the Middle East as the war between Israel and Hamas prepares to enter its 100th day? Also breaking tonight, the fate of former President Trump's civil fraud trial now in the hands of a judge. Trump delivering part of his closing argument in a 5-minute speech where he declared himself an innocent man and lashed out at New York Attorney General Letitia James and the judge overseeing the case. The judge eventually telling Trump's lawyers to control their client. On the opposite coast, President Biden's son Hunter entering as a response to a Houthi attack of 21 missiles and drones aimed at U.S. and U.K. warships in protest against Israel's war in Gaza. For more on these strikes, I want to get over to Keir Simmons, who joins me tonight live here on Top Story. Keir, what more do we know about this sort of joint military operation between the U.S. and the U.K.?
Well, it's just developing now, Tom. We are told, as you are reporting there, that the U.S. and British military have launched these strikes against targets in Houthi-controlled Yemen. That's according to 2 U.S. officials. And we're told they targeted multiple locations with fighter jets and Tomahawks fired from Navy ships. This is something that we expected to happen in the past few days, but also, Tom, in the past few hours, as we saw the British government gather, the Prime Minister here in the UK brief members of his government and members of other parties. That gave us an indication that something was coming. We were getting indications too from the US, from the Pentagon, that there was something coming. The reason why, Tom, is because of these Houthi attacks on shipping in the Red Sea that we have seen again and again.
So it's not the reasoning here is hilarious, because it's not because of the bombing on bases, on U.S. bases, on U.S. soldiers in Syria and Iraq, where we have people stationed. It is because the Houthi are messing with capital that is going through the Red Sea. So they don't give a shit about the soldiers, but they care about the capital and the rates and how that's going to affect the economy overall of ships going through the Red Sea instead.
Over a period of months since the Gaza war began, that has caused serious issues for shipping. 20% of the world's shipping going through that crucial lane, and they've begun to have to go in another way, go in another direction around Africa. That, of course, Africa, extending that shipping journey, if you like, with the implication that the prices of all kinds of things around the world would go up. So it was a situation situation that was threatening for the world economy. The US and the UK warned the Houthis again and again to stop these attacks. Otherwise, there would be consequences. Secretary Blinken, just in his tour of the Middle East, just in the past week, giving them that warning. The Houthis didn't listen. On Tuesday, they launched an attack of 21 drones and explosives, and I think that was the tipping point. The question now, Tom, is going to be exactly what targets inside Yemen are being hit. We've heard that there have been 3 explosions, according to Reuters, in the capital, Sanaa. Is it military targets? You assume it will be. And are the UK and the US able to damage the Houthis' capability to threaten that shipping lane? Because the Houthis themselves, Tom, have said that they intend to retaliate and that they will continue with these attacks. They say they are supporting Hamas in Gaza.
And Keir, I think as you point out, it's important to explain to our viewers that these Houthi rebels were attacking not only military ships, they were also attacking the shipping cargo ships, as you mentioned as well, in the Red Sea. We're talking about more than 27.
Really. Biden says.
I'm Elaine Quijano. Back to our top story. The United States and the United Kingdom have carried out airstrikes on Houthi rebels in Yemen. This comes after the Iranian-backed militia group attacked cargo ships and tankers in the Red Sea. There have been more than 24 attacks since October.
Is this it?
I think it's notable that Bahrain
today at my
assisted
direction,
here.
U.S. military forces, together with the United Kingdom in support of it from Australia, Bahrain, Canada, and the Netherlands, successfully conducted strikes against a number of targets in Yemen used by Houthi rebels to endanger freedom. What? Oh, okay, yeah, I got it. All right, yep. Go on. Anything else?
He says that these strikes are in direct response to Houthi attacks on international maritime vessels. In other words, they are not attacking military vessels. They are simply attacking commercial vessels that are transporting oil, natural gas, and other goods through the Red Sea. He says that they have endangered U.S. personnel, civilian mariners, and jeopardized trade. Here's another interesting point. He says more than 50 nations have been affected in 27 attacks on international shipping, and more than 2,000 ships have been forced to divert thousands of miles to avoid the Red Sea because of these attacks. Here is something that I find really fascinating. He says that the Houthis launched the first ever anti-ship ballistic missile. And that is why
they have
these nations decided to strike Yemen, and specifically the Houthis in Yemen. He says they're in direct response to these unprecedented attacks, including the use of anti-ship ballistic missiles for the first time in history.
Yeah, my PC is not
so basically what he's saying here, Elaine, is that these attacks by the Houthis that we have been cataloging over the last few months, 27 of them so far on commercial shipping, are unprecedented, and they are putting dozens of nations, thousands of commercial vessels and their crews at risk. And this is the response, these major strikes by the U.S. and the UK, assisted, not militarily, but obviously logistically, by 4 other nations tonight.
And Nancy, you noted at the top that among the countries that is listed as carrying out this action or joining together with the United States is the nation of Bahrain. Why is that particularly significant?
Yeah, why is that?
Well, it's interesting because the Secretary of State was just in Bahrain yesterday. As you know, for months he's been hopscotching through a variety of Middle Eastern nations, conducting diplomatic talks. When he was in Bahrain yesterday, Elaine, he made a point of saying that the U.S. is going to have a response at the time and place of its choosing because of all of these strikes on commercial vessels. And by the way, a lot of these commercial vessels are not U.S. vessels. They are owned and operated by any number of countries. The
That
U.S.
is my
did
point,
spearhead
is like,
a coalition of.
They don't, like, it's not that they're United States ships, because they're not. They are just capital. It is capital what the United States is protecting here. The Navy. So, like I said, the whole time this has been going on, the last 100+ days, United States bases in Syria and Iraq have been getting bombed, and that is not the reason that they're bombing Yemen. The reason is because the Houthi are messing with capital, they're messing with the economy, and that's what they care about. Okay, so that's more of the same. Mick Mulroy, all right, yeah, strikes, blah blah blah. Yeah, so let's go and see what else is going on here. So on Twitter, if you search Al Mayadeen U.S. base, you'll see the Islamic resistance in Iraq, which I believe they are Iranian funded. They are attacking the base in I think it's Syria. Yeah, Syrian territory. So the number of attacks launched against the U.S. forces in both Iraq and Syria, Syrian territory, has exceeded 120 since October 17th, when the Iraqi resistance started attacking U.S. forces. So I think they call themselves something along the lines of Hezbollah, but they're not actually Hezbollah. That is in southern Lebanon. They share a lot of similar names because if you notice the wording, Hezbollah, there is a lot of like Allah in a lot of these phrases. Gee, I wonder why. Okay, so in this one, this was January 10th, so yesterday, they attacked a base near a Conoco oil field. Yeah, there's a lot that is happening as far as the resistance, or if you want to call them terrorist, Iranian backed groups that are still in existence in Syria and Iraq. Those guys are out there floating around doing their thing. So why did all of this stuff happen? I want to go back probably a day or two.
On today's episode of What's Going On with Shipping, a convoy battle erupted in the Red Sea.
This is really loud.
I'm your host, Sal. Welcome to today's episode. So on January 9th, 2024, U.S. Central Command, along with the British Ministry of Defense, have issued releases talking about a protracted battle in the southern Red Sea waged by U.S. Navy destroyers, a Royal Navy destroyer, and aircraft off the aircraft carrier USS.
So this is what is going on with shipping. This is Sal. He's very informative.
Eisenhower. I have received information from multiple sources who were sailing in the area. I want to convey that to you, talk a little bit about the situation that has transpired here, and also some interesting developments regarding Iran and China.
Also, my dude has drip. Like, look at this shirt. Like, this is just like George Grillington. Like, I got nothing on that.
All of this is playing out right now as we speak. If you're new to the channel, hey, take a moment, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you'll learn about new videos as they come out. All right, we've been using the analogy of Tom Hanks here a while. The commercial ships coming under fire, that is the Captain Phillips element here, like, but what we saw transpire on January 9th was more Greyhoundish. This was the U.S. Navy and the Royal Navy fighting through. Now, we didn't have a World War II style convoy going through, as you see in Greyhound. Instead, what we saw was the U.S. Navy and the Royal Navy establishing kind of gatekeepers, a picket fence of destroyers on the eastern side of the channel between the main shipping channel and the Houthi in Yemen. Obviously, fortunately, what never happened is none of the crews wound up castaway. So that is the key thing. All right, we're done with our Tom Hanks analogy. Let's jump into this. So this is a story over at G Captain John Conrad. Groundhog Day, World War II combat tactics return to the Red Sea. What makes this attack really interesting is both Central Command and the Ministry of Defense said it in their notes. This is the Central Command post. At January 9th at approximately 9:15 local time, Iranian-backed Houthis launched a complex, and the phrase to look at there is complex. Haven't seen that word used. That tells me this is one of two things. Either a swarm attack where they tried to overwhelm the defenses, or what this actually sounds like is they tried to spread out the defenses and try to get some leakers through, get past the wall. Launched a complex attack of Iranian-designed one-way attack UAVs, what they're calling OWA UAVs. Military loves acronyms. This is basically a propeller-driven missile is what it is. It's not a rocket-fired missile, so it's a propeller-driven kamikaze. Anti-ship cruise missiles and anti-ship ballistic missiles from Houthi-controlled areas of Yemen. The details. 18 one-way UAVs, 2 anti-ship cruise missiles, and a anti-ship ballistic missile were shot down by the combined efforts of the F-18s from the Dwight David Eisenhower, this is the carrier battle group in the Red Sea, and 3 U.S. destroyers.
So these are all the ships that they have out there. Yeah, this is, and then a UK ship is out there too.
The Gravely, the Laboon, and the Mason, and the United Kingdom's Type 45 destroyer, Diamond. This is
my prediction. One of these ships is going to get sunk.
The 26th Houthi attack on commercial shipping since November 19th. No injuries or damages. It goes back to the statement issued on January 3rd. The Houthis will bear the responsibility for the consequences should they continue to threaten lives, the global economy, or the free flow of commerce in the region's critical waterways. This is the Ministry of Defense statement. Overnight, HMS Diamond, along with U.S. warships, successfully repelled the largest attack from the Iranian-backed Houthi in the Red Sea. During Sea Viper's missiles and guns, deploying Sea Viper missiles and guns, Diamond destroyed multiple attack drones heading for her and commercial shipping in the area with no injuries. The UK, alongside allies, have previously made clear that these illegal attacks are completely unacceptable. We will take action needed to protect innocent lives in the global economy. All right, why on January 9th was this attack launched? I believe I know, and that has to do with the fact that 4 U.S. vessels traversed the area. 4 vessels, U.S. flagged, were waiting and holding in the area, waiting to come through. One of them was the Maersk Atlanta. This is a ship of Maersk Line Limited, part of the Maritime Security Program. It had been sitting in the area for a few days. It had come through the Suez Canal, then turned off its AIS, and was sitting here in the central Red Sea for several days. Other vessels included the car carriers Green Bay, a Waterman steamship, and the Alliance Norfolk. This is a ship of also operated by Maersk Lines. The Alliance Norfolk was a ship of Liberty Maritime, Liberty Glory, which is a bulker. This ship is carrying USAID grain from Corpus Christi down to Djibouti. And that ship had been sitting there since December 31st. It had been there a protracted long period of time. All 4 of these ships disappeared, turned off their AISs by yesterday, and some of the ships have now appeared. Liberty Glory, Green Bay, and Maersk Atlanta are all sitting down in Djibouti right now on scene. So that seems to be the focus here of the attack. I want to show you some other information that I think is really telling. This is the Iranian cargo ship Bashad. And one of the things that you'll see here, this is an Iranian cargo vessel, but this vessel has been operating in and around the Red Sea. You'll notice it sailed from Iran on June 18th of 2021 and is not due to go back until January 22nd of 2024. These are 2 Iranian ports. This ship is a base ship. It's being used by the Iranians to monitor the area. And one of the things we heard is that a lot of the attacks took place in this region right here, the very southern end of the Red Sea. I'm going to play marine traffic to show you what this vessel was doing. So this is marine traffic. You're not going to see any of those U.S. vessels identified because many ships are turning off their AIS. Other vessels have their AIS on. This is Bashad right here. I'm going to go ahead and let this play. And you'll notice it's sitting there and it gets underway. This is 9 January. This is about 1800 UTC time. So Sana'a time, the time in the Red Sea is about 2 to 3 hours ahead, depending on what they're doing. You'll notice that the ships are following a track here. Most of the ships heading northbound following a track. Most of the ships heading southbound following a track. But notice Bashad, it is just going back and forth in this area.
Just looping around.
Pretty clear that this Iranian vessel was spotting for the Houthi. There's no other reason for a ship like this to be just patrolling back and forth as a general cargo ship. This is an area where the ships come the closest to Yemen, right here, because of the way the navigation channel is. I popped on the navigation chart there. You'll see that there is a traffic separation scheme right here. The deepest part of the channel is right here. And what we're seeing is probably the spotting of vessels. You can't really get too far out of the channel here because of the nature of the channel. And I think that is very indicative of what's happening. It's very clear that Bashad is sitting here just doing nothing but spotting for them. I do want to show you something else too. We believe that the U.S. Navy and the British destroyers were in this line right here. Inshore of the main channel, they were providing the kind of the gatekeepers for this. But you'll notice two clusters of vessels, and this is outside. Over here, this is the point.
Again, the Houthi are mostly located in this region right here of Yemen. The rest of it is like government controlled, basically.
Point where shipping coming from Asia and coming from the Persian Gulf come together. And you'll notice a little blue vessel in here. And then same thing up the Red Sea, you'll notice a cluster of vessels all in here. And there's a couple of light-colored blue vessels in here. This is the point where vessels will take on board their armed guard detachments. Companies like Embry and a few others provide armed guard detachments. And what vessels will do is they'll stop here at this security vessel.
So they have like PMC escorts?
This is kind of an offshore vessel. They'll embark an armed security detachment with personnel on board. Exactly. You'll see many vessels will show that they have armed guards on board. That seems to be one of the big things that we're seeing right now, are these armed guards on board. They will ride through this area, and then when they come up here, they will offload them. And then those crews will go on those offshore vessels and then embark on other vessels, so that they're basically riding back and forth here. Basically. Now, armed guards are great for providing defense against small vessels. They don't provide much defense at all against ballistic and anti-ship cruise missiles. May be able to provide some assistance against drones, but again, it's really spotty whether or not they can do that.
If you get an AT-4 on you or something like that.
So one of the things that this channel provides for me is access to firsthand experience. And I received notes, text, WhatsApps from a variety of mariners who sailed through the event yesterday. And while I can't disclose who they are and where they're from for fear that the companies would come against them, I want to share some observations that I received from you. And you're going to have to take my word for it. I apologize, but I won't release their names for obvious reasons. A couple of comments that came in that I thought was really interesting was one that basically described the events as unreal. It really was. Very Greyhound. I had mentioned this to one mariner. I said, I heard you had a very Greyhound day, referencing the Tom Hanks movie, and he goes, it certainly was. But one of the things that stood out was this. It was a Greyhound day for sure, and when the shots started coming in fast, the Brits, this is HMS Diamond, got on the radio and told all ships to increase to max speed. The biggest problem we have is that our ships do not have the comms gear to talk to the Navy. This is a systematic problem I've heard from multiple sources, that one of the problems the Navy did not do for some reason was embark groups on board with secure communication. So in the case of the U.S. Navy, U.S. commercial vessels, for example, there should have been a rider on board with a secure communication to do it. Instead, they were communicating either via VHF or through satellite phones. But that required them to contact, have the right satellite phones. You can only do one-to-one communication that way. Not exactly the best way to communicate. Let me pull up another here. Based on the communication they had from the British destroyer, they were told to increase to maximum speed to avoid the attack. I do want to read this section because I think this one from this email is really interesting. After the first sighting of intercept missiles fired from U.S. destroyers and subsequent successful intercept explosions, the coalition warships contacted the vessel and advised us to increase to maximum speed. The total duration of the attacks that we witnessed was spread over a 3-hour period, but most of the activity occurred for about 30 minutes around Mocha. That's the area where the Iranian base ship was located. That base ship, by the way, has been there for a long time, as I mentioned. The Navy ships did not escort us. They were more spread out along our route between the vessel and the Yemeni coast, providing what we call overwatch. We could see multiple launches from those vessels north and south of us during that time. It goes on. There are some other ones here that talked about the dramatic nature of watching the launches and seeing the destruction of the drones as they went on. 3 hours is a long time to be under this. Remember, these are commercial vessels with no defenses at all. Many of these crews, both foreign crews and American crews, are doing this with no compensation beyond the normal pay. Most companies and maritime organizations and unions have not deemed this a war risk zone. And so therefore, they're not getting paid anything extra for this, even though this is dangerous. And there's a note here that I think is really interesting.
So that's probably a huge reason as to why the United States and the UK are now bombing Yemen. They don't want to pay extra. Like, they don't want, like, these ships or the companies that are running these ships, or everybody that's going through up and down the Red Sea, to have to pay more, because at the end of the day, like, once that does happen, and it more than likely will be some sort of increase somewhere, financially, through economical means, it's gonna make them look bad. You know, we have election years and all that business. So yeah, like, rather than pay hazard pay and stop a genocide, they would rather go to war.
One video, email. The mariner on board says this: not trying to be dramatic, but after witnessing the multiple airborne intercepts during last night's attack and hearing the calls from other ships on the radio having similar close proximity intercepts, I can tell you that this threat is real. I don't know what more to say than that. That the U.S. and the British Navy have to counter. You literally have to go back to the tanker wars of the late 80s. You find a concentrated effort to attack commercial vessels thwarted by U.S. and the Royal Navy destroyer. So you've got the Houthi launching a myriad of attacks. You've got an Iranian base ship steaming back and forth in the area, obviously communicating, providing targeting information to the Houthi. And then you have this, which I think is another interesting thing. This was a squawk being done by a Chinese vessel. This is the COSCO Shengjia that was steaming through the area. And what you want to notice on here is the place it says. The place says Chinese company. A lot of ships are identifying themselves associated with China. And to me, this is a very telling issue right now. If being associated with China gets you protection, then, and if the U.S. Navy and the allied navies under Prosperity Guardian cannot provide the protection, now they have. Now the Navy's done a fantastic job. We have not seen ships hit. Yeah. But sooner or later, you can't have 100% success rate. Sooner or later, ships are going to...
And so the rule for that is you have to get it right every time. I only have to get it right once.
They get hit. But if the Chinese can provide protection, not so much with their Navy, the 45th Escort Group that's in the area that hasn't done anything except put out a promotional video, but if just saying you're connected to the Chinese is enough, then do ocean carriers sit there and start flagging their ships under the Chinese flag? And you start seeing a flight to the flag. This is an asymmetric style of warfare we have not seen in ocean shipping in a long time.
Wow.
The Houthi, a non-state player, is engaging naval forces in a complex manner, to quote the Central Command. Commercial vessels are forced to maneuver and avoid attacks. You have another third-party state, the Iranians here, with a spy vessel basically communicating information to the Houthi. You have private security agencies being used to provide some sort of defense on the vessels close aboard, while at the same time you have a piracy issue out in the Gulf of Aden and the Arabian Sea being perpetrated, we think, by Somalis, but probably backed closer to the Houthis. You have Iranians attacking vessels up in the Arabian Sea. 2 ships so far have been attacked. And now you have China making a move here to potentially start seeing a reflagging effort coming in. This is a lot. This is a lot for a Red Sea attack, and I'm not sure everyone's getting this in the mainstream news. So I wanted to convey this to you.
Yeah,
a lot of information to process. I probably missed a lot, and I apologize.
That's not being
but it's just a lot to
conveyed in the
digest
mainstream
right
news.
now. I'll be
Until
looking
today.
at more information, looking for more information coming in. If you want to send me information, again, down in the show notes, you'll see ways to contact me via Twitter, via Facebook, and via email. Feel free to do it. I will send you a link, so if you want to communicate securely, we can do that. But there is a lot going on here for the mariners, for global shipping, for ocean shipping. And this style of attack is not going to convince the big ocean carriers, especially the container liners, to come back anytime soon. The insurance companies are going to sit there and say, yes, you did a great job, no ship got hit, but man, that's a lot to defend against.
Yeah.
And that's depending on the U.S. and the Royal Navy.
Yeah, like I said, they only have to fail one time, and like your ship is sunk. Like, that's it. What is more reliable, going around the entire continent of Africa, or depending on the U.S. Navy to shoot down every single cruise missile and suicide drone coming at you?
Providing that protection with a carrier, it's not clear that that same level of protection is going to be continued going forth. The U.S. can do this forever, but the question isn't the military stamina, it's the political stamina. Do we have the political stamina to continue with this? Hope you enjoyed today's episode. If you did, take a moment, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell so you'll be alerted about new videos as they come out. Leave a comment, share it across social media, give it a big thumbs up, and if you can, support the page. How do you do that? You hit the super thanks button down below, or head on over to Patreon and become a monthly, yearly subscriber. Until our next Red Sea story, it seems. Sal, signing off.
I don't think he released one today, but every video is extremely informative. It's a lot more informative than what we're getting in our mainstream media right now. I watched a couple videos from mainstream media here a minute ago. They're really just kind of repeating the same lines, not saying much outside of what I guess they're allowed to say, really. And I did pull it up on Twitter, where we see that, bases are being attacked, just like this tweet. As president, I'll use military power responsibly, and as a last resort, we will not go back to forever wars in the Middle East. Uh-oh. Nicely done. Nicely done. Just following up on these. Oh no, they're roasting him. Let's be clear. Donald Trump does not have the authority to take us into war with Iran without. Oh, this was after Iran shot down the like a $30 million spy UAV. Or was it? Was that when the Houthi shot down a spy UAV? Because that has happened so far. 2 years ago, Donald Trump withdrew from the Iran deal. Yeah, that really screwed up a lot of things. Now, did this guy fix it? No. This week he vetoed a war a war powers resolution that would have prevented him from starting a war with Iran without congressional consent. Yeah, you haven't had congressional consent in like 70 years. His decisions have increased the risk of a war in the Middle East. Okay, so like Obama was dropping a lot of bombs in Yemen during his entire tenure there. So I don't know what that's about, man, because that's the dude that he used to work for. And this guy had 4 years. Yeah, he fucked up a lot of things. I will definitely say that Trump was a lot worse than what Obama did. But neither one of them was good. And now we see, status quo Joe over here, doing the same shit. They are roasting this guy. Look at it. They're using his own words against him, which I also like. I brought that up earlier on Threads that, hey, isn't this the same guy? Like what here, yeah, who's this guy? Who's this dude? I said, where's this guy? Where's this guy today? Where is he? Like, what'd y'all do with him? Did y'all hit him with like the damn what do you call it? Like the Cuban ray gun or whatever it is? Hold on. Oh, I muted it.
For the policy, the rational policy, you set out 4 principles that you adhere to, and then and I will go over them in a moment. Then you say on page 14, we must not become part of South Africa's problem. We must remain part of their solution. We must not aim to impose ourselves, our solutions, our favorites in South Africa. Damn it, we have favorites in South Africa. The favorites in South Africa are the people who are being repressed by that ugly white regime. We have favorites. Our loyal.
It's funny how he cares about people being repressed by an ugly regime at certain points in his career, but not today.
Loyalty is not to South Africa, it's to South Africans. And the South Africans are majority black, and they are being excoriated. It is not to some stupid puppet government over there. It is not to the Afrikaners regime. We have no loyalty to them. We have no loyalty to South Africa.
The parallels here, man. The parallels here.
To South Africans. And the fact of the matter is I listened to this rationale first of all. It is the leaders of South Africa and their people, black and white, who have the majority responsibility. They must rise to it. Well, they are rising to it. They're rising to it. The only thing left available to them with that repulsive, repugnant regime of Afrikaners there. And it's the only way they have. They've tried everything for the last 20 years. They begged, they borrowed, they crawled, and now they're taking up arms.
So it's okay when it happens in South Africa, but it's not okay when it happens in Gaza.
Second thing, progress toward peace requires a timetable. Timetable, elimination of apartheid. What's our timetable? What are we saying to that repugnant regime? Are we saying you've got 20 days, 20 months, 20 years? We ask them to put up a timetable. What's our timetable? These people are being crushed.
And they absolutely are. They are absolutely being crushed.
And we're sitting here with the same kind of rhetoric. The same thing we heard. We heard, go slow.
Go slow.
We heard, we have to take care of the problem afterwards. We heard, we can't impose.
You are totally
now's not the right time.
Misconstruing the testimony that I gave.
I assume this guy's
Furthermore,
dead.
Senator, let me say that I hate to hear a senator of the United States calling for violence.
I'm not calling for violence.
That's what you're doing.
I hate to hear.
Exactly what you're doing.
I hate to hear an administration and a Secretary of State refusing to act on a morally abhorrent point. I hate to hear this country. I'm ashamed that this country puts out a policy like this that says nothing, nothing.
Exactly. Where is this dude today? He's missing. He's on the milk carton. I don't know where that guy is. All right. So hold on. There was something earlier that I posted. Let me see. Yeah. So enough about the Houthi. So just to recap the Houthi situation. Yeah. I mean, rather than reasoning and saying, "Hey, let's tell our buddies over here." Our Zionist buddies over here to maybe cut it out, because when there was a ceasefire for like what 5-6 days, something like that, the bombing stopped. The bombing not only stopped in the Red Sea, it also stopped on U.S. bases. It came to a complete halt. There were no soldiers on U.S. bases in Syria and Iraq that were targeted when the ceasefire occurred. So we see that these groups are true to their word, but that isn't being talked about right now. Like they don't want to talk about that. They want to talk about these guys are bad guys. These guys are, they're gonna make the cost of your T-shirt go up by 20 cents or whatever. That's the position that is being taken, rather than, hey, let's get these guys to stop bombing Gaza, come to some sort of resolution, and then move forward there. Rather than that, we say, well, nah, fuck that. That's a bad idea. We'll just bomb these guys that are dropping bombs, as if there's not another group of guys in the north or directly next to Israel that could literally level Tel Aviv if they wanted to, but they won't act. No, those guys won't act at all. Anyways, so here's I'm just gonna change gears and somewhat related, but the biggest disappointment probably of the year for last year is this goofball, fucking bald bull over here. No, nobody plays Punch Out. Never mind. This bonehead.
Really fighting. It's a group of cowards. They hide in tunnels.
So he's talking about Hamas, not the Orthodox guys that are in Brooklyn.
They hide behind civilians. They attack, kill, and mutilate children.
Now, I don't know if he's talking about the IDF there or if he's talking about Hamas still.
And they do that? Stop talking about proportion on that.
What? What does that mean, dude? Stop talking about proportion on that? What is he talking about, like, don't talk about the proportion of people that the IDF are killing versus the amount of people that Hamas has killed, like 3 months ago now?
They shot their best shot on October 7th.
Okay.
And they would have taken more lives if they couldn't do that, but they couldn't do it.
My guy, they were out there for like 3 days. Like, what reports are you getting?
And now let's also talk about that. Now we're talking about genocide.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
And now South Africa is bringing that kind of a trial.
What are words, dude? What are words?
Maybe South Africa being able to sit this one out when they're talking about genocide.
What does South Africa know about genocide? They don't know nothing. You're just coming across as the biggest idiot, like literally the biggest idiot.
Who are they really fighting?
Okay, he must be like
a group of cowards. They hide in
What
tunnels.
a doofus. What a doofus, man. Oh. Okay, yeah. He's either at a like a Joe Biden rally or APEC rally or something. That post was by Newsweek on Threads. This dude, I don't know what's wrong with him. As a stroke survivor myself, I had it when I was really young. Maybe it changed me. Maybe like it reversed course on my brain. But whatever happened to him before and after that, his last one, I don't know, man. Maybe Oz was the better choice. You know, maybe Mehmet was the choice to go with. I don't know how many Muslim senators AIPAC has on their payroll, but it doesn't seem like many. However, I would say probably Capital would still align with Capital in that sense. So, you know, Dr. Oz would probably be the most evil doctor since, you know, that guy. God, I'm dating myself here, right? It's so old. But yeah, you know, that's Fetterman for you. I really don't know. I think we expected a lot from him. You know, maybe we expected too much. Maybe it was like, you know, we should have just like been like, okay, you know, he can be like big and bald, and also like in hoodies. I think they're making him wear suits now and all that stuff. So maybe it's like the suits. Maybe he just got mad that he had to go buy a bunch of suits to be in Congress, and then like AIPAC was like, hey buddy, we'll buy all the suits for you, but you gotta wear this cape. And the cape is the flag, and you gotta wear it all the time. So like that just kind of broke his brain. I don't know, man. We can't win them often, and we're not winning them all at all. Not here. All right, I need to take a quick break, pee break. Hold on, let me. I don't know what this is, but I'm gonna let it play. I'll BRB. I don't want it to be super loud.
Almost 40. My Lord, I can name just a story. Tokyo Cody, mature, almost 40. Keep on me to Haruka, connect to the glory. Tokyo Cody, Tokyo Cody, Tokyo Cody, Tokyo Cody, Tokyo Cody, Tokyo Cody. I can't get guys and die, I'm dying to the yam and die to sound. They look in time, I need to let the heat go on to the sound. No matter what game, I can just go here, I don't know pretty cause I'm.
Legit. We got jams here. All right, let's. What else I got? I think I finished the news. I mean, that's really all I wanted to talk about as far as the news goes. Is this today? Yeah, this is today, but it's going to be behind, and that's going to be behind too. Is there anything good that just like released recently? Yeah, that was 2 hours ago. Alright, got that. I need to work on the opaqueness of this. I need to work on a lot of things. Yeah, there's the coverage from Al Arabi. Al Arabi probably going on whatever Saudi Arabia is saying. This most woke dude over here. I mean, you can just go watch this. What? I don't know what these videos are that are popping up on here. Some wild stuff. Yeah. So subscriptions is what I'm looking at. Unfortunately, these are all the channels that I'm subscribed to. Yeah, so US-UK wage war. I mean, as advertised. We advise all Asian and European countries, whether in the East or in the West, to all countries, not to get involved by America. Let it get involved alone in the war in the Red Sea. Just watch and let Britain get involved with it, no problem. That seems to be like the response overall, is like, rather than everybody going full, like full out war, like what we're seeing is like, even when Israel killed the Hamas leader in Lebanon, sure, there was a response on the ground, but there wasn't like a declaration of all-out war, and you didn't see like 20,000 troops just pop up out of the ground everywhere in Gaza. They've been very restrained. They've restrained themselves very well, which is completely unexpected. I don't believe that the U.S. Military has expected them to have this sort of resolve. It's the same thing with Hezbollah. There have been Hezbollah leaders that have been killed, and yet the responses have been minimal. They've been more precise, really, in my opinion. You see Hezbollah striking IDF targets with Hornet missiles and launchers from the ground, which, if you haven't seen those videos, they do exist. There are some channels that I would recommend watching. If you want to know what those are, I can send them to you. But the responses have been more precise. And then again, you have, your IDF Swords of Iron page here. And I would say, like, if you want to say who's winning the war on the ground, what is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 guys die in one day. And then a lot of these are from the same unit. You have four of them from the same unit. I would assume that's in Merkava that got blown up. If this is what you're reporting, I can only imagine what's going on the ground. So you're not winning this war. Like, the invasion that you're doing into Gaza is not good. So while you're out here doing retaliatory strikes, or you're doing strikes in advance. Yes, I did buy the book, by the way. This is Rise and Kill First, which is a very important book as far as the behavior of the IDF. this isn't the first time that the IDF has behaved this way, but this is also not the first time that the IDF is losing in this manner. However, to believe that these strikes are decisive that the U.S. and the U.K. are doing, to believe that the strikes that the IDF and maybe the Mossad are doing against Hezbollah and Hamas are effective, they're not. They're not. Like they're it kind of goes to the paper tiger analogy, right? Where you expect to get eaten by the tiger, yet it does nothing, because it has no effect. Yeah, so like all of these things that are going on right now are just kind of like for show. I would assume it's for show. To show the United States audience that what we're doing right now is actually effective, but in reality, like, you bombed Yemen, and really, like, what have you done? Like, there's no like oil fields on fire or anything like that. Like, you're not really doing a lot. I don't know, like. Again, going back and talking about like how they killed the leader, or the second in command of Hamas, and then like the whatever in command of like Hezbollah, and like all this other stuff. Like they're doing these strikes, and they're killing guys that they would think like, oh yeah, you kill one and the whole thing falls apart. Like, no, like if that was the case, then you wouldn't have lost 9 soldiers on the ground on the 8th, which was like 3 days ago. If that was the case, you wouldn't lose more people on top of that. And these guys are getting flown into the occupied territories of the West Bank, into hospitals. Luckily, they haven't started bombing their own hospitals, but they're flying them in there daily. Like, it is happening daily, to the point where there have been reports that the settlers that are there in the West Bank are annoyed because of the helicopter noise, and how often this is happening. It's become an annoyance, and they're like, hey, can you guys like die quieter, because we're trying to take over people's houses over here. We're trying to kick them out of the houses and do our thing. So yeah. Gone are the days of maybe it was like this guy right here. You can't see it yet. No, yeah, you can. This guy right here, this little orange dude, that kind of ruined it for everybody when he was like, well, I'm just gonna drop the Moab and the mother of all bombs on Afghanistan, and that'll take care of that. And it's like, you have a child's brain, like, and they did it, but yeah, this guy has the child's brain, and what did that solve? Like, what did that really solve? Did that end the war? Was that the turning point, or was that just the U.S. showing the exertion of its capabilities? And then after that, it's like, okay, well, hey, what else do you got? Because everybody else is like all the resistance fighters and whatnot, they're still on the ground. So what are you gonna do? I guess leave. Leave is the response, right? We're just gonna grab our toys and get out of there. Yeah, I don't know. It's all for naught. It's all kind of like, just in my opinion, if you had to ask me, hey, why are we doing this? Because it makes money. It makes a lot of money. Every time we blow up a bomb, we have to make another bomb. Every time we get a ship or a fighter jet shot down, or we do a suicide drone strike, and that suicide drone is gone, or the drone gets shot out of the sky, $30 million drone. We have to have Lockheed Martin go and build another one, or we have to have whatever military contractor go and build another one, and that is the economy. So, God, I keep getting porn bots on Threads. That one looks like somebody I used to know. All right, let's block that, and blocked. But let's. Is there any quips that I had here and there? No, I don't think that's fun. No, not that one. What else did I have on here? Oh, okay. All right. Let's talk about a couple things. That's a really long video. I'm just gonna watch maybe these two because it's late.
And that's only for the people who are lucky enough to.
Hold on, we gotta reset.
More people than ever are afraid they're going to lose their job at some point this year. And that's only for the people who are lucky enough to already have a job. New entrants into the job market are struggling to get into roles that were desperate for workers just 3 years ago. If people do lose their jobs, they have record low savings to support themselves. So then why the fuck are people spending more than ever?
For males, it's the top priority. For females, it's number 2 behind only clothing and accessories.
Hold on, I kind of want to go back to that.
For males, it's the
I want to see
more than ever.
For male.
Teen spending in spring 2021. 7,000 teens surveyed, 47 states. Almost $80,000 household income.
It's the top priority.
Food, yeah. Video games and clothing. Oh, that's for dudes. For girls, it's clothing, food, and personal care. Yeah, it seems about average, especially for 2021, which was like still COVID, like pandemic, that everybody was paying attention to. So yeah, personal care and video games, like, sure.
Priority. For females, it's number 2 behind only clothing and accessories.
Americans seem more stressed about money than ever before.
87% of Americans said that inflation and the rising costs.
4 in 10 Americans say that money affects them negatively and the state of their mental health.
The financial situation of the average American has gotten worse in the past 12 months. According to data from Equifax and the New York Fed, money that people saved during the pandemic is gone. And in its place, people are using credit cards and short-term loans to cover expenses. Buying or renting a house is more unaffordable than ever due to the trio of low availability, high mortgage rates, and high prices. And with an election on the horizon, people are worried that things will only get worse when appeasing voters is no longer top priority.
That a lot of Americans simply stop looking for a job. Still, when it comes to unemployment, lower is better than higher.
But when everything is a crisis, nothing is. People have seen the headlines, and they just don't care anymore. Right. Crisis fatigue is a real problem, and it's costing you thousands of dollars every year, whether you realize it or not, for 3 different reasons. The first reason is that people who aren't catching up are giving up. If you think it's going to be hard to ever be financially comfortable, you are not alone. A survey of 2,000 young Americans conducted by Harris Poll for USA Today found that 65% of Gen Zers and 74% of millennials believe that they are starting further behind financially than earlier generations. And according to a poll run by the New York Post, 1 in 5 Americans now believe they will never be able to afford a home. There are 2 reasons for this pessimism. The first reason is simply because it's true. Big financial objectives like home ownership, retirement, or simply being debt-free are becoming rarer. More Americans over the age of 75 are working than ever, according to data from the Labor Department. These were the people that had the opportunity to buy.
Did it say twice as many are going to work?
Are working than ever.
What are we doing, man? Oh no, we're gonna have like 80-year-old grandpa out here like trying to like install
According
my cable
to data
internet.
from the Labor Department, these were the people that had the opportunity to buy homes before they were several multiples of the average income. So if they couldn't escape the rat race, what hope do you have? The second reason is that there is a lot of money to be made off this pessimism. When people resign themselves to never achieving their financial goals, then there is less pressure to avoid taking on bad debt, spending recklessly, or putting off enjoyment. According to the same New York Post survey, 40% of young Americans surveyed said they think that hitting the jackpot was the best chance they had of ever being able to afford a home. Lottery companies, online...
We've lost the plot. We are just trying to win the lottery in order to make it. We are working our own jobs as a medium in between being homeless and winning the lottery. That is the only reason that we work.
Casinos and get-rich-quick gurus have tapped into this desperation as an effective marketing strategy to put those that fall behind even further behind. Giving up and being financially irresponsible has, in a way, become something that is highly fashionable. Trends follow young people, and since young people are giving up on long-term financial goals in favor of short-term experiences, that has become the new normal. Luxury fashion is marketed as a way for affluent people to show off their means. But according to a survey by Bain Consulting, the largest group of customers shopping at luxury clothing stores are millennials, followed by Gen Zers. The people who have the least finished...
Okay, so I got into a conversation. I'm not going to call it an argument. Got into a conversation earlier on Threads with this guy. Hold on, I'm looking for the convo. But it related to this, and it was God, where'd he go? No, don't tell me you blocked me. Don't block me on Threads. I need your content. No, yeah, it's like way down here somewhere. Oh, there it is. So it was this something as simple as this. So Brian Tyler Cohen said, words cannot begin to describe how stupid things have gotten over on Twitter. Yeah, I would agree that Twitter is stupid, but also, let's just read this comment. In the deep state, is the deep state activating HAARP to disrupt the Iowa caucus? We all know Nikki Haley has a lot of friends in the defense industry and military-industrial complex. She's losing in Iowa, and now Iowa is set to get hit with a once-in-a-decade blizzard as Donald Trump is set to dominate the Iowa caucus. Is the deep state using HAARP to rig the Iowa caucus? It looks like weather manipulation to me. She's just kind of repeating herself there. Take a look at this weather radar below and how the incoming snow accelerated out of nowhere. Oh boy. So how does this relate to the video that I'm watching? What I wanted to say here is, we've turned to the most unreasonable answers because reality doesn't make sense anymore. Reality of a snowstorm coming in pretty much out of nowhere doesn't make sense to these people. Rather than it being, hey, it's January, snowstorms happen. Rather than that being the comprehensible answer, she's going to say, oh, well, somebody's controlling the weather with whatever HAARP is. And they don't want Trump to win. Well, I mean, doofus, like, if that still happened, like, I'm sure they would have some sort of work from home or whatever, vote from home kind of scenario, or delay it. Whatever the case is, it would still occur one way or another. Not only that, but Haley's like 50 points behind Trump. So it's a non-issue. That itself is a non-issue. But those logical answers are not firing within Laura Loomer's brain. And if they are, then she knows that they're not firing within her audience's brain, and she's just being manipulative and using that information to try and continue to guide her audience in the direction that she wants them to go. So yeah, Seattle Flexer said that it might snow in January doesn't make sense, and I said no. It's what I just said, where that the weather is being controlled because of all these other issues, rather than just that's what a normal person would say, is that it's just snowing in January. But the issue is, the connectivity here is, like, how do you get to be that dumb? How do you get to be that person that has to connect all of these issues in order for it to make sense? You could say that, yeah, like QAnon, and like, the answer is simple. It's the internet, social media. There's a lot of good things on the internet. There's a lot of good things on social media. There's a lot of good things in regular media, but again, there are bad things. Yes, I do agree. And then, I'm like, okay, well, why do we turn to those things? Why do we try to acknowledge and, kind of lose ourselves in social media, in the online, in, friends that we make online, or in personalities that we meet, the norms that we become, the parasocial relationships that we build through online connectivity. Like, what leads us there? So that's kind of my answer is, how did we end up with a lack of critical thinking skills? How do we get here? I was not trolling at all. I just wanted to kind of get to this conclusion here, that when you and this is something important right here. So, like, astrology has become a very, very huge topic in recent years, and the quote, or like the saying kind of is that, like, the American home is so unachievable that astrology has jumped up in popularity, because astrology is a lot more believable than it is to own your own home these days. And as he's saying in this video, there's the three main issues of: one, not a lot of homes are available; two, interest rates are high; and then three, homes cost a shitload of money. So for the person that's making $30,000-$40,000 a year, buying a $300,000-$400,000 dream home is completely unattainable. It is totally unattainable. It might have been attainable maybe like 15 years ago. Should have been like easy peasy. You just need the down payment. But now, like, the monthly payments that you're having to pay for are just not reasonable. You have to be making, I think I saw a report that said you have to be making like $120,000 a year as a household. So if you're not making that on your own, you have to make that combined. So two people combined making an average of $35,000 a year is not going to equate to $120,000 a year. It's not going to happen. So you you can't you can't just put two people's incomes and go out and buy a home, because one, you're not saving money, two, you don't have enough money to pay the mortgage. I saw a thing a long time ago when rent rates were going up, and it was like, hey, who wants to fall in love so we can pay rent? Like, that's really the way that things have gone in the last few years. Rent prices are up, mortgages are up, interest rates are up, and yeah, I think these are crises. But yeah, I agree. If everything is a crisis, then nothing is. But what is the answer here? So I kind of want to finish this.
Are spending the most to try and fake the appearance of doing well that they will never be able to really achieve. Young people with basic jobs and no assets wearing LV and Supreme are cosplaying as people with financial security when all they are really doing is hurting their financial situation even more. Even if you are personally maintaining a high level of financial discipline, crisis fatigue can still end up costing you money if you are trying to keep up with friends and colleagues who want to indulge in expensive activities. The terrible reality is that your life probably won't be as comfortable as the lives of older generations. And if that makes you want to stop playing a rigged game, that's fair. But it's only going to make your financial situation worse. So it's time to learn how money works to find out how financial crisis fatigue is costing you what's left of your financial future. This week's lesson is sponsored by Sheath Underwear, by far the most comfortable underwear you will ever wear. If you're sick of boxers that are too loose or briefs that are too tight, Sheath is for you. Their stretchy fabric is made out of you and get the most comfortable underwear you'll. Luxury retailers and get-rich-quick gurus have done well off people YOLOing away their life savings, but there is another group that benefits more directly from financial crisis fatigue, and that's the people selling the crisis. There are good news outlets and bad news outlets, and there are good financial influencers and bad financial influencers, but they will all be able to tell you the same thing. Fear sells better than positivity. Most of my best videos in 2023 were commentary on bad corporate practices, and there is
fear is the basis of sales. It's like if you go and watch the movie Wolf of Wall Street, and I'll just do a spoiler here. You should have watched it. But the guy gets to the point of like, you know, hey, he has no more money and he's at a conference and he's like, sell me this pen. And so he gives it to a guy and he's like, sell me the pen. And the guy looks at him and he's like, oh, well, it's a nice pen. It's very unique and it's, you know, silver and gold and blah, blah, blah. And the guy doesn't have the answer. But if you watch the movie earlier on, he does the same thing and he's like, sell me this pen. And rather than it being a necessity or a need that, you know, it's a very reliable pen, he has one guy, he kind of gives the same answer. He gives it to his friend and he says, sell me this pen. And his friend says, hey, do you have a pen? He says, no. It's like, well, you need to buy this pen then. That's it. That's the answer. The answer is fear. Is like, he doesn't need the pen at that moment in time. But the fear of him not having a pen is what sells him on it. And that's how sales works.
Some of my largest influencers predict a new housing crash every week. It gets views. When these predictions are nothing more than baseless speculation, it causes the second problem with financial crisis fatigue. It stops people from getting started. More people than ever get their financial advice from financial influencers on YouTube or TikTok. According to a survey by Wall Street Zen, 76...
I don't know if you can hear that, but that hail is coming down. I'm glad I moved my car inside.
% of Gen Z admit to turning to platforms like TikTok, YouTube, and Reddit for financial education, in contrast to only 24% who seek advice from financial advisors. Even if you struggle to feel bad for someone who watched a TikTok crypto analyst before putting their life savings into dink-doink futures, they can't take all of the blame. Basic financial literacy in America is terrible, and it costs too much for most people to seek the
David Ramsey.
Advice of a licensed and qualified financial advisor. Entertainment platforms like YouTube and TikTok do not promote the content giving the best advice. They promote the content that is getting the most engagement. So boring, rational investing gets pushed aside by people making insane claims about the next crypto to the moon or the housing market flipping. I know
it's very easy to like get the idea that you can get rich within like a month, but the odds of that happening are extremely rare. The odds of you being completely broke and losing all your money is more likely.
I talk about this a lot on my channel, but bad advice is worse than no advice. Statistically, the worst mistake that young people make when pursuing savings and investing goals is not starting early enough, followed by putting too much money into individual assets that underperform. The two most common types of content made by finfluencers is talking about the next crisis and talking about individual stocks. A JP Morgan Chase survey found that younger people who got their financial advice from non-traditional sources were more aggressive in their portfolios as they would buy and sell individual positions more frequently than older wealthy investors employing the help of a paid financial advisor. 90% of hedge funds that employ an active trading strategy underperform the market, so people making trades based on a video they watch are almost certainly doing themselves harm when they could just be investing consistently. Looking at the headlines and videos about other markets like housing can also give people the impression that it's always a bad time to make a purchase that should be a long-term decision. If you watched Grant Stephan's video about the real estate market crashing back in 2019 and decided to hold off investing because of it, then you are going to be spending hundreds of thousands of dollars more today for the...
It is never a bad time to buy a house in the United States. Until something radically changes with the government, it is never a bad time to buy a house.
Same house that you would have bought back then. News outlets and content creators can comment on these important markets, but they shouldn't try and speculate on them because that's where serious harm...
There he is. That's the guy. If somebody's telling you not to buy a house because interest rates are high, sure, interest rates are high right now, yeah. Will they be high in 10 years? Who knows? They could be higher, which means that if you bought now, it would be great. They could be lower, which means that if you bought now, that would be great also because you can refinance at that time.
Harm can happen to people that, for better or worse, rely on these outlets for financial advice. Constant bad news stories can also have the opposite effect, and instead of stopping people from making sensible purchases, it pushes people towards making financial decisions that look less risky, but are actually only preying on their financial insecurities. If you have spent any amount of time watching business and finance content on YouTube, you have seen ads telling you to buy gold as an asset to preserve your wealth, protect you from...
Fucking God, with buying gold. Do not buy gold. Don't buy gold. Unless you have millions upon millions of dollars, do not buy gold. The reason I say that is because gold is reliable, yes, against inflation. It is a very reliable asset against inflation. Meaning that when inflation goes up, the price of gold goes up. When inflation goes down, generally the price of gold stays the same. Meaning that your money will, if you bought $10 in gold, it will be worth more as inflation goes up. And as inflation or values go down, gold will retain its price in general. Does that mean that you're going to be rich because you bought a bunch of gold? No, it means that you're going to have the same amount of money that you had when you purchased that. That means that, like, if you spent $10 in gold in, like, 2003, you would still have the equivalent of what $10 is in 2023 in gold. It would still be the same value. But the positive to that is that it wouldn't be a depreciating asset, where if you had like $1 million in gold, it wouldn't turn into $500,000 worth of gold. It would still be the equivalent of $1 million later on. Although the number would go up, yes, it would be like, 10 million. But of course, back in like 1920, $5,000 was a shitload of money. Today, to some people, it's nothing. It's something that they make in a month.
The government, a recession, or whatever the financial crisis flavor of the week is. Scott Schaefer released a series of videos recently diving into the shady practices of precious metal companies that use endorsements from people like Rudy Giuliani, Ben Shapiro, and Robert Kiyosaki to sell gold coins at prices 45% above market rates.
God.
This is the best investment in the world today. It's called silver.
Rich Dad Fraud Dad needs his own video, but precious metals are a risky asset to have too much wealth concentrated in, and that's if you can buy them at a fair market price. Emotions and investing don't mix well, and that's the third reason why financial crisis fatigue will be costing you money. It makes real problems sound less important. There are a lot of new ways that people are claiming that you can get rich quick. Most of these strategies or investments are incredibly risky at best, or downright scams at worst. Bad financial news has become so widespread that if people try to expose these schemes, their work becomes hard to pick out from every other story fighting for viewer attention. Fear, uncertainty, and doubt, or FUD, has become a slogan for crypto bros downplaying the risks of their investments. If real estate is crashing, the stock market is crashing, bonds are crashing, and crypto is crashing, then it makes it seem like all of these asset classes are just as risky as one another. CoffeeZilla, in addition to traditional media outlets, published damning reports over the business practices of the failed crypto exchange FTX over a year before it eventually collapsed. But investors still lost billions of dollars because their warnings got lost in an ocean of warnings about absolutely everything. The world's largest crypto exchange, Binance, used this strategy when their business fundamentals were called into question after the collapse of FTX. The company's official statements implied that the media was just looking for the next big news story, all while secretly working out a $4.3 billion settlement deal with the Justice Department over money laundering violations. And it keeps on working. Because in the age of TikTok attention spans, even the most reputable outlets need to turn up the sensationalism to stay relevant. But to find out how it got this far, go and watch my other video over on how history works on the 2,000-year decline of journalism. I've also finished writing an accompanying article about the power of FUD in financial markets that I will be releasing on my free email newsletter later this week. So if you want to read that and other articles written by some of the best finance...
I got it. Chill. Alright. So this is a 9-minute video on the terrible story behind The Simpsons. Wow. That seems weird. I think it was a different title
problems, strangling his own son, and even framing his own wife. How much darkness can we hide behind a laugh? Hi everyone. Today, we embark on a journey into the depths of the most controversial animated show in history. The Simpsons. How it started. The Simpsons wasn't always the big-time show we know today. No, it had its humble beginnings as a recurring segment on The Tracy Ullman Show. Back then, it was...
Alright, yeah. What a weird intro. So yeah, the whole like financial thing, crypto bros, all that bullshit. Again, we're not in a great place, I would say, financially as a society, and I think a lot of those things take advantage of people that aren't. It's rare that somebody has a very well-established job that pays a healthy living wage. When I say that, I'm like, more than like $50,000-$60,000. If you do know a lot of people like that, then consider yourself lucky, because probably, I think it's something like 50% 50% of Americans make less than like $30,000 a year. Just not a lot today. Don't take financial advice from me. I'm not an expert, but I have lived this long. We can't keep going at this rate. Eventually, something will have to change, where either we all unionize and we get more money that way, or these jobs realize that people need to get paid more and raises go up, pay rates go up, or capitalism collapse, just full-on collapse. It collapses, as predicted, as it usually does. Every 4 to 5 years, capitalism does collapse, and it uses socialist policies to keep itself alive. As we saw in the housing crisis, when several people went into foreclosure in the market, the housing market itself collapsed, and then it was propped back up by basically giving people money to buy houses. If somebody bought a new house, or it was the first time buyer, they got like a $8,000 loan from the government. A lot of those things have happened in the past. Hell, COVID happened, and we got money for free, basically. If you made below, like, what was it, like $90,000, $80,000. If you made below that amount of money, you got free checks. And those people that use that money, or those people that receive that money, use that money pretty much instantly. Not only that, we also saw the child tax credit, where like people that had people that had children, or any amount of children, received a certain amount of money. And where does all that money go when you give it to the working class? When you give it to people that only make a certain amount of money, that can't live off of their investments, that can't live off of the returns that they get from their 401ks and stock market investments and all this stuff. Where does that money go that those people that are working get? Like, where it goes back into the economy, back into businesses. They use that money to buy food. They use that money to buy clothes. They use that money to buy new cars, put a down payment on a new car. Like, that is where all that money goes. It goes right back into the economy. Now, the reason they means tested that and said, we're not going to give the money to people that make less than like $80,000-$85,000 a year during COVID, was because if you give that money to rich people that make $1 million a year, that make $500,000 a year, that make $250,000 a year, they're going to look at $1,000 and they're going to be like, why are you giving me this? Like, what am I going to do with $1,000? Like, I can't even pay rent with that. That amount of money means nothing to them. But if you give that amount of money to somebody that is making the poverty line of $14,000 a year, you just gave them a $20,000 or 20% bonus. So they will immediately spend that money as in making their life better, making their children's lives better, making their families' lives better. That is the positives of giving people money.
It was just a small time thing, you know. But hey, it got its groove on.
Yeah, this is a weird video. I'm only 30 seconds in. I don't know Binge Society. I don't know why I'm following them, but if this is a weird video or a messed up video.
Gaining traction and sliding into seasons 2 and 3, becoming a regular feature. And oh boy, did things change. The animation quality went from, well, kinda basic to top notch.
This is AI.
And those characters, they went through some serious personality makeovers too. I mean, think about it.
Yeah,
how did the creators see the potential in this wacky family and decide to spin Emmett to
like
something
this.
different? And the big question.
This is not a good video. I'm sorry. I'm gonna stop watching that. Anyway, so yeah, that was a bad video. Man. Again, on the whole like economy and how money works, I think there's a lot to be said there. I think we could do a better job as a society, as in providing for those that are in need. Because if we continue the way that we're going, where like the minimum wage hasn't been increased in probably since I was in high school, which is a long time ago. I got grays over here, man. We're gonna end up with a bunch of people that don't have any money. They can't buy the houses that are being put on the market. Maybe that is the point. Like, maybe it's a slow drip feed of, hey, you finally have $5,000. How about buying a $300,000 home? Like, for if you have VA benefits and whatnot. Like, you it's not going to happen, man. It's not going to go well. Even if it does happen. You might say like I'm being pessimistic, but try it. Do the numbers. Consult a financial advisor. Do not consult a person that is trying to sell you a house, because the person that's trying to sell you the house will tell you, yes, you can afford it. If you consult a financial advisor, they will tell you that, hey, maybe this isn't the greatest idea right now. Yeah. I think we get manipulated by several people in our lifetime. a lot of these people will walk away with your money and never think about you again. We need to really consider what is happening with our finances. Again, this is How Money Works. I highly recommend How Money Works. I really like this channel. He had some banger ass videos for sure. Let's look at his most popular ones. The Rise of Bullshit Jobs, which is completely true. How the Wolf of Wall Street scam actually works. These are all very informative videos. I can see I probably watched a good chunk of these. A boring job is a dream job. Yes. I can't agree with that. I've had a lot of boring jobs, and hey man, if nobody's bugging you at work, maybe that's a dream job. Now, if you're stressing out making sandwiches like I was as a kid and getting yelled at by yuppies like 8 hours a day, that's not a dream job. I don't know what else to say about that. But yeah, How Money Works, highly recommended. Definitely follow that channel. He also has another channel called How History Works. Pretty good. I haven't watched a lot of videos, but one of my favorite channels is Docudubery. There we go. This is a fun, silly channel. No, what was that? 6 days ago, White River.
When Remy is in the kitchen cooking up some ratatouilles for the boys, there are few chefs in the world that can match his taste for quality cuisines and his well-calibrated palate. His culinary revolution, started on the streets of Paris, has reignited the world's love for French cuisine in an era many post-microwave food critics call the Renaissance. However, despite Remy's renowned success, every chef has a white whale dish that they never can seem to pull off. For Gordon Ramsay, it's pad thai. For Panera Bread, it's caffeinated lemonade.
No!
And for Remy, it's the Popeyes 8-piece chicken bucket. Now, this may shock you, as fried chicken is a relatively simple creation in the culinary world. But for Remy, the problems are not technical, but cultural. You see, Remy grew up in the French countryside, largely before the fast food empires from the Americas came for France, an eventual reverse colonization of Europe.
The fucking monarch. The monarch got to him, man.
Far removed from heavy industry and the far-reaching hands of McDonald's, Remy was able to foster a love for high-end fine cuisine, and his career skyrocketed immediately to the top of the culinary world upon entering Paris for the first time. It's for this reason that Remy really has no connection with the common man, and this is an ingredient absolutely critical when crafting the Popeyes chicken bucket, which is often called the official meal of the working class. Remy will never know what it's like to be a single mom who works 2 jobs, who loves her kids and never stops, while he is cooking up soups and salads for the Parisian high society. He'll never understand that the secret ingredient to an Uncrustables PB&J is love, and for that reason, he has absolutely no hope of ever cooking the dish of the working class, the Louisiana-style fried chicken at Popeyes.
He doesn't know the proletariat.
So when it comes to the cuisine of the working class, the 9-to-5ers, and our men and women in the front lines of America's telemarketing industry, let Remy have his fancy tomatoes and his immaculate-tasting cheese and wines. We'll take our spiced fried chicken, for Remy may be the chef, but he's not the one cooking. A shout out to my patrons for selecting this video for the month.
I love documentary. What is this? No!
Well, I tell you, Pete, today's a beautiful day.
Why is that, Mickey? Explicitly from the 1920 short Steamboat Willie.
I guess you've heard the news. As of today, we're officially in the public domain.
The public domain? What's that?
Well, Pete, you know Disney? We're not affiliated with it
Not
all.
the slightest.
Well, their copyright on us has finally expired, meaning we're finally free from the reins of our corporate overlords.
But what does that mean for us?
Well, for one thing, I can finally share what I, Mickey Mouse and Steamboat Willie, really think and feel.
Wow! Like what?
Well, did you know that I, Mickey Mouse from Steamboat Willie, believe drinking and driving is really cool?
Is that so?
Or that I personally believe that the soft spot on an infant's head is a government conspiracy.
I can drink. I can drive. Why can't I do both?
Wholeheartedly agree.
Did I ever tell you the time I killed that Taiwanese hooker?
No, but now it's canon, officially canon, Steamboat Willie.
We are not affiliated.
Wow, this is instantly taking a damn turn.
With
Not in the slightest.
Let's hammer that in.
Amazing, Mickey. Where do we go from
Well,
here?
now that just about anyone can use their image and likenesses, where we go is up to their imagination. We can go to space,
Oh.
or maybe a tropical island.
Wow.
The possibilities are endless.
Wow, Mickey. I only wish we were in the public domain sooner.
Well, Pete, whatever told you, we were supposed to be in the public domain years ago.
Is that so?
You see, anytime one of their copyrights was about to expire, Disney, who we're not affiliated
Not
with at
the
all,
slightest.
well, on 2 separate occasions, they lobbied the U.S. government to push back the expiration date farther and farther.
Can they really
Lobbying,
do
yes,
that?
Anything's possible when your government's bought and paid for.
Oh, wow.
Remember, kids, your vote will always come second to the people who made Baby Yoda.
It seems like, for the first time in a century, the world is our oyster. So many up-and-coming artists being carved out of the woodwork as we speak. The love and joy we once brought to the world years ago can now be rekindled in the modern day with brand new hands, new ideas. Oh, I'm so excited, Mickey. What do you think these wonderful minds are going to do with us now?
2 war movies and a Steam game.
Oh my god.
That's it?
Pretty much.
Okay.
So the shop isn't up just yet, but I made a Redbubble using fucking my own art, you know, because I drew this character with all certain captions, and you can buy it on your hat, your shirt, or sweatshirt or stuff. I made it as cheap as I could. It's not up yet, but when it is, I'll do a community post, so just keep an eye out on that. And
Brother.
yeah.
Like,
I will give
we've all
personally,
done
by the way,
this
this is real, $100 in cash to the first person that buys one of these things and goes to Disneyland with it. Take a picture, like in the park. Take a picture wearing one of those shirts. I will pay you $100. Just like DM me on Twitter. I'm not even kidding. All right, thanks. Bye.
Yeah. All right. Well, good job, everybody. Also, what's Solid GG been up to? Anyway, this is a very silly. Wow. Okay. Yeah, this is where he's at these days. Let's do a rock with arms. Got it. Yeah. Where's Nemo? Yeah, that's the last one I watched. It's very true. That's how people play Team Fortress 2. Alright, it's past midnight. I am done here. Got to go. I will see you guys next time.